They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. But for me, the fury wasn't about being cheated on. It was about what they did after he was gone. It was about them trying to turn my own daughters into emotional hostages and insulting them with the very religion my cheating husband had defiled. My ex-in-laws thought they could paint me and my girls as godless villains, all to secure their own future. What they didn't realize, I had a beautiful, leather-bound high-resolution document detailing their son's hypocrisy, and I was about to drop it right on the hymn desk of their hyper-conservative church. Get ready, because this is the story of how I served the coldest, most satisfying justice, one glossy page at a time. If you have ever been underestimated, betrayed, or felt the righteous burn of needing to serve some serious karma, hit that like button right now. Your support fuels these stories of justice served. Subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into a tale of unbelievable family drama, a massive secret, and one very expensive trip to the print shop. My name is Sarah, and I'm 46. Last year, my life was blown apart by two devastating events that were far too close together. First, discovering my husband's long-running double life, and second, his death in a sudden accident. When I say double life, I mean a literal other family. Not only was he cheating, but his affair partner had also passed away, leaving two infant boys orphaned. Just like that, I went from a woman fighting for a divorce to a grieving and utterly betrayed widow dealing with an unfathomable tragedy. The tragedy didn't end there, though. My two daughters, 17 and 15, are the absolute center of my universe. They were the ones who found out about the affair. And that secret caused a trauma that they are still working through with a therapist. Because of this, they are understandably not equipped, nor willing, to be big sisters to the two orphaned boys. Enter my ex-husband's parents, the grandparents. Instead of offering any genuine comfort, or focusing on the needs of their grandchildren, my daughters, they decided to weaponize grief and religion. They immediately launched a campaign to try and get custody of my daughters, which we are now battling in court. Then they demanded to move in with us. The audacity was breathtaking. But their most insidious actions were rooted in pure greed. Before the accident, my ex had foolishly told me he had named our girls as beneficiaries in his will. But when we checked the documents, he had named his ultra-religious parents. They inherited his personal bank account and his entire life insurance policy, leaving me to handle the financial reality of the home. Despite being set for life with that money, they kept up a relentless campaign of harassment, claiming we were leaving them penniless. I tried to keep the girls away from their toxic influence, but that was getting harder. And then came the day that pushed me over the edge. It was my youngest daughter's 15th birthday. To make her feel special, I gave her a budget and let her loose at our local weekend farmers market to load up on any sweets and produce she wanted. She was gone for a little too long, and just as I pulled my phone out to call, she beat me to it. Her voice was thin, choked with sobs. "Mom, there are some weird people cornering me." My heart seized in my chest. I grabbed my eldest daughter and sprinted through the aisles. What I found was a circle of 6 older women, all from the ex-in-law's church, surrounding my terrified 15-year-old. They were berating her for being unchristian, for refusing to spend time with her poor orphaned baby brothers, and shunning her paternal grandparents. My vision tunneled. This wasn't about God. This was about emotional terrorism. I shoved my way into the circle, placing my body squarely between the pack of wolves and my cub. "Eldest, go pay for your sister's things and wait in the car. Now." Then I turned on the vultures. I recognized a few faces from when I had attended that church. They started spouting scripture and telling me I was the worst kind of woman for refusing to obey your ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. I felt the blood drain from my face, replaced by a surge of pure white-hot disgust. A good Christian wife. I spat, my voice shaking. "I was married to a man who was sleeping around while funding your building expansion. You dare preach to me about my duties while defending a liar." The screaming got too loud, drawing a crowd, and soon, we were all asked to leave. As I walked to the car, the women followed, their judgmental eyes boring into my back. I felt like I was running from a flock of shrieking, hateful harpies. That night, after tucking my shaken girls into bed, I needed answers. I messaged an acquaintance who is still a member of that church. What he told me made my jaw drop. My ex-mother-in-law had published a massive, sob-worthy post on the church's private Facebook group. It was pure Hallmark drama. She claimed my daughters and I were leaving them homeless and penniless, conveniently leaving out the part where they pocketed a massive insurance policy. But the most outrageous lie was her story about the 2 orphaned boys. She couldn't expose her son's cheating because, as fate would have it, their church is incredibly strict about infidelity, a mortal sin. no matter the gender of the cheater. So, she fabricated a tale. The other woman was a surrogate because I was supposedly unable to have more children. Then, she claimed I refused to accept the babies because they were boys. I physically recoiled from the screen. To be accused of such a monstrous, sexist act was disgusting, but it provided the opening I needed. I was technically mid-divorce when my ex died. Because the papers hadn't been signed, I still had all the evidence of his infidelity. And crucially, I had no legal ramification for releasing it. The path to sweet, holy retribution was clear. The next morning, I took the day off. I went straight to the print shop. I wasn't doing this on cheap copy paper. I paid extra for beautiful, glossy prints of every damning piece of evidence. Pictures of my ex and his affair partner, making out in our living room, text messages between him and the other woman, confessional chats between my ex and his parents where he admitted to the cheating, and they offered him support. Harassing messages from the ex-in-laws to me about the divorce. But the real, soul-satisfying dagger was this: all the emails and text messages of them bullying my daughters about their baby brothers. In one message, sent literally 2 days after my ex died, they called my girls bastards and blamed them for their father's death because they told me about the affair, and I started the divorce. I spent hours assembling what I called the binders of betrayal. They were designed to look exactly like the small, personalized prayer song packets the church handed out for hymns. The first page, visible the moment you opened the cover, was a high-quality print of my ex and his side woman, faces clearly visible, kissing in my home. Underneath the picture, I drove to the church an hour before service. The hymn desk in the back is never watched. It's where members grab a songbook if they forget their own. I calmly set down 12 identical, perfect, prayer song-size binders of betrayal amongst the hymn books and walked out without a word. The fallout was immediate, spectacular, and everything I had hoped for. The gossip mill spun so fast and harshly that the church's private Facebook group became unusable. The names my ex and his affair partner were called were so vile that the pastor himself had to step in just to enforce a PG-13 content policy. The congregation was furious about the affair, but the true outrage is, the thing that validated me and my daughters was the evidence of the grandparents' bullying. People were disgusted that they would use the word bastards against 2 traumatized teenagers. The result? The ex-in-laws were publicly shamed into leaving the church. They had lost their sanctuary, their support network, and their victims. I got 2 separate apology letters in the mail for my daughters, confirming the church had seen everything. I even got an invitation to join the church for support, which I promptly threw away. The irony was sweet. They still thought the divorce was wrong, but admitted my failure of duty was understandable. After the shock of being married to a liar and a cheat, as for my ex-mother-in-law, she posted one last mournful rant on her personal wall about how alienated she felt and how no one cared for the elderly anymore, wishing her great son was still alive to take care of them. The total lack of especially from a woman sitting on her son's entire life insurance payout, was the final, satisfying note of my perfect revenge. What this taught me is that the truth always finds a way out. My revenge wasn't about being petty. It was about moral justification. It was about defending my children and using their hypocrisy against them. I didn't get their money, but I took away their reputation, their power, and their ability to hurt us ever again. If this story of karma and righteous payback gave you chills, do me a favor, smash that like button. Tell us in the comments what you would have written on the cover of that custom binder. And of course, subscribe for more stories of ultimate justice, betrayal, and sweet, sweet revenge.